Hi, good morning. I hope you guys are having an awesome Saturday, or maybe if you're watching from the other side of the nation, it's maybe afternoon time, and it's just that nice, quiet time where you're ready to watch somebody paint, or maybe you're ready to paint. So today we are going to be painting Lincoln the Dachshund. This is my reference photo I've got printed out and ready to go. Isn't he cute? So he actually belonged to my employee Veronica, and he recently passed away. And so we just wanted to commemorate him by doing a nice painting with him today. So we're going to be using some fun colors to get his fur. You can see he's got a lot of different tones in his fur that are kind of fun, with like a burnt sienna and some other different tones. And then he also has lots of these fun forget-me-nots. I think that's what they're called. Somebody who knows flowers better than me, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they are not forget-me-nots, but I think that that's perfect for a sweet fur baby that has passed. So hey Cindy, hey, good morning. Oh, I'm excited for this too. I'm excited for the flowers. Like, I was kind of playing with the paints to get the right color. Hey Ronnie, I'm so glad that you're watching, and yeah, I'm excited to see how you guys, if you decide to paint this too, how it turns out. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over all of our supplies, and then I'll turn the camera so you guys can see the canvas a little bit better. So I've got 3 different paintbrush sizes. I've got a large flat brush. That's going to help with our background and some of the lines, surprisingly. This is, I'd say, a 3/4 inch. It's by Royal and Lane Nickel, and these last a long time. If you are watching and you're a paint party artist, I highly recommend this brand for paint parties. They are made out of plastic instead of wood, so they're easy to wash, and they don't splinter or have paint that flakes over time. And then sometimes if this part gets loose a little bit, you can just glue it back on. So I really like these. You can get them at a lot of different places. This is the other brush size I'm going to be using. It's a large round brush. I believe it's a size 6. And then this is just a small liner brush I'll be using for some of the smaller details. This is a size 1. And then I've got my paint water. I've got a paper towel over here. I always have a baby wipe right here in front of me I really like, and I've got some extras. The colors that I picked out today are some fun browns. So I've got Liquitex Basics Burnt Umber. If you like to use the Artist Loft brand that I normally teach with, they also have this color. But the lots lately have been, I don't know, I bought a couple of them. They've been a little thick, so I've been switching to this one for a bit. I also grabbed the Liquitex Basics Burnt Sienna. Really good color to use with pretty much any nature-related paintings. I've also got a parchment color by Liquitex. And then I grabbed some different, I didn't actually have like a periwinkle color on hand, so I grabbed a couple of different purples and blues. I've got, these are Americana paints by DecoArt. I've got ocean blue, and it's pretty close to periwinkle, but not quite, so I want to add a bit of purple to it. So I've got dioxazine purple. And then I also grabbed ultra blue deep, which is kind of like a navy blue. And when we get to that step, I just mixed a few of those 3 together to get this really pretty periwinkle. And we'll kind of use some different tones of that as we paint the flowers. And then I also grabbed, for my grass, I grabbed this festive green. And then I've also got just a regular sap green by Artist Loft that'll add some different tones into our grass. And then I've got just a basic craft black and craft white paints. Those are for details and like shadows and highlights towards the end. And then I also have some metallic paints that might kind of add a fun little twist towards the end. I also woke up early thinking you were 2 hours ahead of me, but turned out it's 2 hours earlier. So shoot, you ready to paint at 8 a.m.? Oh, that's okay. I understand. Well, hopefully you can just watch the replay. It'll be awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera better so you guys can see it more than me. I was going to do my makeup and all that this morning, but we're going to be cleaning house most of the afternoon, so getting ready for the kids to go back to school this week. Yay! So let me turn the light too so it can be on him. I'm gonna actually bring my light over here. There we go. Sorry, it's gonna get a bit bouncy for a sec. There we go. All right. So first off, I like to look at my reference photo and kind of figure out what my main tone is on the animal that I'm painting. And so for him, I would definitely say that this burnt sienna tone is kind of the main one we're going with. He does have some of that darker umber like in his ears and on his forehead and even on his chest and on his back. But just in general, this tone should be pretty good. We could double load with this and a bit of burnt umber if we wanted to. And then we'll go in and add our highlight and shadow tones here in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my, because I'm working on an 11 by 14 inch canvas, whatever size you want to use if you're painting at home, I'm going to grab my smaller round brush and I'm just going to start working on his fur. If you'd like, you could do your background first too, if you're just kind of getting a feel for it. But I haven't quite decided what I want to do up here yet, so I think I'm going to wait on that. So I'm going to go ahead and take that large round brush and I'm going to double load with both my burnt umber and my burnt sienna. And I'm just going to come up and start filling in his ears, and I'm doing kind of short little strokes. Just to get it all filled in. I would normally use my bigger brush. If you were teaching a class and using a larger canvas, you could use the larger flat brush. But for now, I'm just going to use this one. Kind of liking how those two tones look together, but I know it's quite a bit darker on his cute little ears. I love dachshunds. They are a family favorite in our family, and I happen to have friends that, they also love them. They're just unique little dogs, lots of personality and lots of fun. I'm kind of leaving a white line here because I did notice when I was making the tracer that this underside was pretty dark, and then there's a bit of a highlight here, so I'm just kind of leaving that just to remind myself that I'm going to add more of a highlight over there. I'm going to go ahead and come along his back and do the same thing. If you ever decide to do a paint your pet party, you might want to just focus on like this area here. And not want to add in the whole body. But it looked simple enough, so I thought, you know what, let's go for it. I'll try to keep looking and see if there's any other comments as we go too. Is anyone doing anything fun today? It's like, oh, it's Saturday. I feel like it's Monday for some reason. Going a little darker on his back. And you can probably see there's a little kind of a white line there. I'm kind of leaving that just to remind myself that's where the edge of his ear is, and I can add a shadow underneath to make it pop and separate, and even a tiny bit of a highlight to pop and separate from the rest of his his body. And then down here, this is pretty light here, but this is just the under painted area. So I'm also going to leave that little bit of a highlight so I can see where things are going with that. And then up in here, it's pretty dark. I kind of want to go a little darker than the double loading. So I'm actually going to rinse and switch and do a little bit more of this burnt umber up here. He's got these sweet little wrinkles. My brush is a little wet, which I'm actually okay with that for this, because we're just going to layer, and I can still see my pencil lines through it when it's just a bit wet. And it's pretty dark down under his eyes. It's almost black, so we'll probably go in with a little bit of black just to make it even darker here in a little while. Or you could even double load with that burnt umber and black, and that would kind of take care of that step 2 in 1. 2 in 1 go. I'm going to leave a little bit of highlights here where these cute little wrinkles are at. Just to remind myself that they're there in case I lose them in my paint. Cindy said, golfing and out to dinner. Oh, that sounds fun. My husband and I just barely, we went to this place called Top Golf in Texas back in June, and I had never really golfed, but my grandpa was a really good golfer, and we really enjoyed it. We were surprised we were good at it. I was like, man, I'd much rather go golfing than bowling any day. I suck at bowling. And I did I can't remember if it was a 5K or 10K earlier last year, and I won tickets to it was because the race was around a golf course, and so everyone who raced won tickets to go golf there for a game after the race, and they don't expire till later this year, and I've been meaning to go and use them. Add a little more dark over here. Cindy, do you golf often? And then, so it says niece's birthday at 1 p.m. Oh, yes. If it says, just so you know, if I'm like someone else, it's just because I'm using StreamYard and it says Facebook user. So I never know who it is. And usually if you give them, like, you have to click on a link to give StreamYard permission and all this stuff to use your name, which is kind of weird, but that's one way so I can see who you are. Okay, I added a little bit more of that burnt sienna to my brush, and so now I'm just kind of coming underneath his eyes, and I see some of these little areas where it's a little bit darker still on his face. He's got the cutest little face. And then as I go, I'm going to go a little more into this burnt sienna. And I am going to kind of cover up his whiskers. I know where they're at, and I can still see. I know you guys might not be able to see, but I can still see them a little bit through the paint, so I'm not too worried about losing them. If you're just starting to learn how to paint animals, this is a great way to start. Just start watching and following along with videos, or just get a picture of your own dog and draw it out and give it a try. I'm going to add some more of that burnt sienna up here. I'm going to kind of go up into this area. We're going to have more highlights here, but for now I'm just getting that undertone set. And the nice part about this is, you know, you can kind of layer on top of what you've already painted too, and it just makes it look even better. So I'm going kind of light in here just because I know I need to add like some highlights when I get down there. I'm just kind of pulling my brush in the direction I think that, you know, like his nose is kind of pointing and growing. I know once I get down in here, we'll add a little more. He's almost got kind of a shadowy black tone. So we'll layer on top of that. And I'm not worrying, you know, I'm kind of going over his nose. I'm going to paint his nose black anyway, so I'm not going to be too concerned about that. He does have like some reds like up in here too. I'm going to add a bit of red. Or that burnt, yeah, it does look kind of reddish. It's like it's a very natural earthy red. I really like it. I didn't really paint with it much until, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Art Sherpa, but I did her acrylic April challenge earlier this April, and she used it a lot. So I was like, okay, I need to do that too. Okay, I'm going back to double loading with both the burnt umber and the burnt sienna. Let's see, Cindy, third time this year. Would you be showing us how your tech is set up? Also, I'm looking into online parties, but wondering how pricey saving videos is, or if it is an issue. So yes, I can show how I have my tech set up. Maybe I'll probably have to do like a different video. Let me make a note of that so I don't forget. Just gonna write it on a sticky. I think it's already on part of my list of things to do, but I can get it to you sooner since that's something you guys need right now. Video for tech set up. And looking into online parties. So I do know how to teach online parties, but I have found that more people have been interested in my in-person parties. But that online stuff is something that I'm really working on this year. So, and how pricey saving videos is. Oh, to save it. Yeah. So for me, I use with StreamYard, it saves the video on StreamYard, and then you can use the link on StreamYard to share it wherever you need to share it. And then StreamYard has different payment plans depending on what you need and how much space you need. You can also upload your videos to Dropbox and have that as an account. That's another thing that I use. And again, they have different plans depending on how many videos you have. So that might be something you'd be interested in looking into. How many hours do you recommend scheduling a paint your pet party? 2 or 3? I would recommend 3 hours. I used to just do 2 hours, but it always runs later just because you're you're teaching so many different things at once, and you're kind of helping a lot of people doing different things, and so you're kind of running around and helping people a little bit more. So yeah, I would recommend doing probably 3 hours, especially if you're just starting out, or even like, just start with a very small group, like your family, maybe with 4 people, and then build up to like 10. I would not recommend teaching more than 10 to 15 at a time for a paint your pet unless you have help, just because it is a little more of a time consuming event. And sometimes I've found that people, when they're painting, they might get a little emotional too, and so it can kind of cause them to stress a little bit about the process, especially if it's one that they haven't healed since the pet has passed, maybe. Kind of just depends. I had one party, the girl painted a rainbow bridge, but she did not touch the painting of the dog. And so that was when I realized, like, oh, this is kind of sensitive for some people. And so, yeah, that's another thing with these parties. You just got to try to be sensitive to people and where they're coming from with wherever stage of life they're at with their pets, and you never know what they're going through, but it's still such a special thing to give them and get to paint with them. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this, but let's see, I'll hold this up a little closer, but right through here I did a little bit darker before I go lighter, because in my reference photo you can see in here he's got 2 darker tones, and then I need to go over the top with the lighter tone. So I'm doing the darker shadow first and then that lighter one. I'm going to keep going with our double loading here. Actually, I'm going to rinse and kind of switch back over to that burnt sienna so it's a little bit lighter along this edge. Again, just doing short little strokes. This is kind of a dark area that's behind him, kind of part of his little neck here. My uncle loved dachshunds growing up. He's always had dachshunds, and so this kind of makes me think of my uncle too. I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow down in here, just where the his shoulder is here, and then his little crook of his elbow is over here. And so that way I can kind of see where that's at. And then this is all kind of shadowed down here from the grass. It just goes a little bit lighter going up. And if you really, like, say you were doing something like this for a pet portrait, you might really want to get in here and do some short little strokes with a tiny brush, especially towards the end after you're done with this underpainting process, because those little details are kind of what will help it really pop when they have short little hairs. And I'm just layering. Get a little darker in here. And just remembering there's a pretty big highlight there. I think I'm content with that for now. So that's, oh, he's got his, needs to be a little bit lighter. He's got this little area here, and you can, there on the tracer I put the like grass kind of overlapping here and there, and you can paint over it and then paint the grass in if that's easier. I honestly, normally if I was just painting this for fun, I would just put in the grass first and then the flowers and not worry about drawing them all out. Oh, Cindy said, such a cutie. What is his name? His name is Lincoln. I kept forgetting his name. I was like, Veronica, can you tell me his name? Oh, my ring light sometimes turns off, and I have yet to figure out why it does that. Okay, so now I'm ready to go in and do some shadow tones, and with a little bit more of a black with that dark burnt umber. So I'm gonna make like a black brown. So I'm just mixing, I took a bit of my black over here and I'm mixing a little bit with this burnt umber to create a dark black, and I'm just using the same brush. And now I'm gonna kind of go in and just add some shadows where I can see he's got some right up under this ear and kind of underneath here. And even just along this edge, and that's going to make it kind of pop a bit. I'm still leaving that little bit just so that can add in some highlights there later. And this is kind of, he's got a cute little fold in his ear here. Maybe just along that edge, just to make it pop even more. It's a little dark over here from him standing in these cute little flowers. I'm even going to pull a little bit of that darker tone down through here. I kind of even want to do just a really dark black right through here to really make his face pop a little bit. Just going to add a little more contrast. I'm going to come in through here. He's got a bit of a shadow, kind of a triangle and through his chest. You can even keep going, do just some short little strokes on top of where he's got some darker areas here. Just kind of having fun with it now, not being too technical with, you know, the reference photo. It's not looking exactly like it, but just, you know, perfect for if you were offering this as a party, or if you were helping someone with their own pet. This area is a bit darker up here. Like I was saying, it's kind of blended with that burnt umber. So I'm going to go in there and add a little bit more. He's got this really cute little dip in the center of his forehead. I'm just going to keep pulling her up and around, and then he's got some little wrinkles over here where we really want to show some shadow, so I'm going to kind of outline those a bit. We'll add a touch of a highlight to them too. This is kind of a thin little area there. He's got a bit of a wrinkle here. See how I left that little mark there just to remind me where I'm going. I can add a bit of a highlight to it too here in a bit. Just a few little strokes. And I'm going to get a little darker underneath that ear. And then I'm just kind of looking around, seeing where else. Is anywhere else seen? I think his nose has some darker marks and almost like grayish. So we'll go back in and make kind of a lighter tone here in a bit and add some grays to that. And then his nose is black. We'll wait and add some of these darker tones around the eyes. We'll switch to a smaller brush. And I'm going to show you guys a couple of different ways I've been seeing that some artists do eyes. They're a little different than the way that I do eyes. Some people will color the whole pupil in first, and then they will do the highlights and stuff. And when we're doing paint parties, sometimes your painters will lose their highlight and they're just not sure where to put it. It's like, do it right here or there. And so having the highlight pre-drawn and to put that in, I think kind of helps, but it just depends on your personal preference and your teaching style, what you prefer. Ronnie said, okay, let's see. Yeah, Cindy said, yes, that is popping out the dimension. What have been some of your technical challenges in your paint parties? I think the hardest thing with the paint parties, especially the paint your pet parties that are kind of technical, is the eyes, I would say, because towards the end, people have had a few drinks and they might be a little shaky or really relaxed and just don't have as much control, and so then I will go and help with their eyes. So that does take time to go around and help people a little bit that way. I think what other technical, sometimes like just those smaller details, I think, are probably the main thing. People struggle with the small details, and they need help with that, especially if they're not used to using like a smaller brush. And so, okay. And then Ronnie said she's watching while she's out. Oh, you're so sweet. If you're busy, I totally understand. You can always watch later. Cindy said, looking good. Okay. Now I'm ready to kind of go in and start some highlights and make it look a little bit more natural. So I'm going to take this parchment color and I'm actually going to mix it with the burnt sienna. And this is going to create a color that you'll find is really common in a lot of dogs. It's this kind of light orangey color. So a little bit of burnt sienna with the parchment color makes that tone, maybe even a little more. And using the cream color, a cream color of some sort instead of pure white, helps to make it look more natural. I think, it might be different. You might kind of experiment and find a different way, but that's how I found it. It looks nice. And I'm still using that same brush. And so now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of look around and see, well, where can I put some short little strokes that can blend in? You could even double load with that and the burnt sienna. Make it look a little more natural as it's blending in with your other tones. And like especially through here, this is pretty light. Then up here it's kind of dark, so I'm going to kind of add that. There's a little bit more highlight there. The side of his body, I'm going to double load, so I've got that lighter color and my burnt sienna, and just going to do some short strokes through here. And just trying to be random with it really helps it to come alive. It's alive! Okay. I'm going to blend this off to the side a little bit, just so it looks like it's a little bit more part of his cute little body. Had a little highlight there, especially along this ear. So cute. Keeping that white area not only kind of helps me to see like where I need to add that highlight, but it also helps that tone to actually pop a little bit more. And then you can, you know, kind of pull it up through here a little bit if you wanted to. And then I'm going to add that tone right in through here. Really going to help his cute little wrinkles to kind of pop out a little bit more. And you might find switching to a smaller brush would help. I probably should switch to a smaller brush, but I've got quite a bit of paint on this one. I just want to use it up. I'll add maybe a little more highlights with a smaller brush up here. And now this is pretty dark. His face really isn't that dark. I'm going to finish up this ear over here, and then we'll start working on lightening up his face a bit. Feel kind of like blending this up a little bit better. Yeah, and then this area is pretty light. So now we're going to add even more of that cream color to make that a lighter tone, even lighter than what we had. It's almost like a peach color, so I'll kind of show. It's quite a bit lighter. Okay, so now this whole area is pretty light. So now I'm going in and I'm just making his eyebrows stand out a bit more. Come in under his eyes. It's just like I'm kind of like petting him as I go, you know? Just gentle little strokes. And I want to double load a little bit just to blend things a little bit better as I'm going. Oh, he's looking so cute. I feel like it's kind of the angle here. It might be hard to see with the shadow, but he's coming together. Okay, I'm gonna keep adding, I know there's a highlight down here, so I'm gonna keep adding just a touch down here. And this is a really beautiful little highlight there. You could even get lighter than that. And right in through here. And this area is really light, so going back over that area. And his little elbow here. Add a bit more of our sienna with that, just to blend it a bit more here. He's got a bit more of a highlight on this side of his face, I feel like, so I'm gonna add a bit more there. Even like up on his eyebrows. Okay, I'm pretty content with how that's looking so far. I think about ready to add our little details to his face, and then we can start working on our background. So for the eyes, I'm going to switch over to a much smaller brush, my small liner brush. It's a size 1 round brush. And I'm going to start by filling in the pupil of the eye, and then the color, and then we'll fill in the hair and the outline. So I'm going to dip into my thinner craft black paint. This is his pupil right here. And I was able to really see a nice clear highlight on the reference photo. I'm going to show you guys. See how you can really see his highlight. So you can just leave that white. You could paint in. You could even do like a touch of blue or gray, or even maybe that purple a little bit to make it pop. I'm going to come over to the other eye while I'm working on the pupils. Just go ahead and fill that one in while I'm at it. Now I'm going to fill in the color of the eye. And it's kind of, I want to add a touch of gold to this burnt sienna color he has going. So first I'm going to do my ring light is not wanting to work, guys. Sorry. Try that. Maybe that'll work. I'm going to do that with a little bit of the burnt umber just to get the undertone on his eye. So right underneath here, that is his iris. Colored part of the eye is the iris. Yep, I think my ring light has had it, so I apologize if it's dark from here on out. And then I'm going to rinse and dry my brush and add a touch of this metallic gold. And that's just going to kind of add a special touch to his eyes. Okay, now I'm going to make them pop a little bit more by outlining them. So this area here is outlined underneath. Then around the iris. And right up above. And this is where, you know, people might be feeling kind of intimidated or scared to mess up. They want it to look a certain way, and they think the eyes have to look exactly the same. And so that's where you can, as you know, you're an artist and expertise, you can come in and help them out. There's even kind of a touch of gray around his eyes. I'm just doing kind of short little strokes here to, and actually maybe I can get the camera closer. Maybe that would help. Okay, there we go. So I'm just doing short little strokes here to show that there's like the hair growing up on the eyelid. I'm gonna rinse and dry my brush. And even like, see this area right here? It's actually not a pure white. I'm gonna kind of pull some of that black down, almost like a grayish color, and just kind of soften those edges so they're not perfect edge. Now this is more like that technical side of things we're talking about. If you're teaching a party, do not worry about that. And then he does actually, this whole center area is actually really dark instead of lighter on him. Kind of a dark brown, so fill that in dark brown. Very nice. Okay, now we're going to move on to the other eye. We're just going to keep outlining with the black. So outlining this part of the eye. Eyelids. And you can have a Sharpie for your painters too if you wanted to, or if you're just painting this for fun at home. Do not be ashamed to use a Sharpie, especially if you're still kind of just trying to figure out how to get your hand steady. Again, this area on him is a little more of a dark brown. And this is actually pretty dark too back here. Got just darker eyes. There we go. I'm just going to make a bit of gray, sometimes just a teeny touch of gray along the eyelid. Kind of helps it to stand out a bit. I'm rinsing and drying, going back into my white. And just making this a little bit less perfect, just kind of dabbling a little bit. Okay, so now when we're staring at it so close, it's like, oh my gosh, this is, I don't know if this is turning out. You might feel like it's not quite right or overwhelmed by it. You can always kind of stand back. I think I'm going to add even a touch of gray right here. eyes. He's got just a bit of highlight right there. Okay. So now I can pull the camera back and you can probably see that he's looking very much alive. All right, but he's missing a nose, so let's put in his nose. I'm going to switch back over to my large round brush. I'm going to dip into my black paint and just, because that's the main tone of the nose, I'm going to fill it in here. It's actually a little more gray on top here, so I'll add the gray tone here in just a bit. And then there's this little area down here that's also part of his fur. We'll fill that in a bit. Sometimes getting the nose in first helps. So his nostrils are very, very black. And I'm kind of leaving a white line around them just so that I can see where I'm going to add a highlight. Okay, now kind of a gray tone. I'm going to kind of dabble on top of his nose. Make a tiny highlight there. Very cute. And then underneath here, this is all pretty dark. He is looking so cute. Oh, Ronnie says he looks great. I think he is looking very cute. I feel like he needs a little bit more gray up here. We're gonna add that in. He's got his little lip down here is black. It's very tiny, hard to see. I'm gonna go in with my little baby brush and add in some of this burnt sienna tone through here. And we're going to leave a touch of that white outline along that edge, just to show where his face is separated from his body. And then I'm going to grab that large round brush, and it's almost like just a touch of black added into that lighter tone we made, the lighter orange. So I'm going to kind of play with this and see how this looks. Just a little bit more gray. And then I'm going to add a touch of white to that to add a little more of a highlight right in here. Touch more burnt sienna through here, just to cover up some of my canvas is still showing. And you could even add a bit of water to your canvas if you're feeling like it needs it to fill in. Those spaces. Okay, I'm pretty content with that. I think we're ready to work on the background. You might find things as you go along that you want to fix and change. If you were painting this and it's not dry yet, you might want to blow dry it at this stage. I think we're ready to get that background in. So I'm going to switch over to this larger flat brush, and I'm going to use it to paint my grass. I'm going to double load in my dark green and my light green. And then I'm going to just start pulling that in kind of a zigzag motion, even up on to his fur. I'm not going to be afraid to layer and go over my flowers. Maybe some areas are darker than others. We could get a little darker up in here. And you could do your edges. I'm going to kind of lift this up so I can get it down here. Sometimes grasses, it kind of crisscrosses here and there. Maybe it's darker here, darker there. You could kind of layer with that too. It's kind of fun. And you can put as many flowers as you want in here. This is, for me, this is kind of the fun part that helps to bring it together. You could even add a touch of white to one of your greens to lighten it up and add even more variation in your tones. See that? Maybe more over here. And I'm just pulling, I have my brush perpendicular to my canvas instead of flat. It's like this, and so it's making these nice little short strokes and lines for me when I do that. We'll add in his whiskers here in a moment. Kind of touch up some of these edges if I get over them. Get a little more dark in here and there on this side. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Okay, and now I think I'm ready to add our flowers. So I'm going to switch over to the large flat brush. Pull a little closer so you guys can see. And my paint is already drying, so I'm going to show you guys how I made that periwinkle color again. So I have like a navy, a dark purple, and kind of a purpley blue. And I'm just mixing all three of those until I get the tone I'm looking for. Isn't that pretty? I love this periwinkle color. Love it. And you can double load with like this color and some purple, this color and some navy. It's super pretty. Okay. So now I'm just going to dabble and do maybe like 5 petal strokes here and there. I think those little flowers have 4 or 5 petals per flower. They're kind of, the petals themselves are a little more rounded, so you could kind of have fun with it and paint them this way, or you could paint them a different way. Oh, my green was a little wet there still. Have to come back and do that. If you really, really wanted them to pop a lot, you could always do like white first and then do your blue flowers. You kind of pick and choose. I want to do some variations here. I'm going to dip a bit in my white and add some lighter ones here. Go back to my darker ones in here. Maybe even add a touch more of my navy through here. And this could take a while. You know, you can put as many flowers as you want in here. That's kind of fun doing. I just add a little bit of white there. It's making kind of a striated look. Oh, my paint's a little wet there. We'll add the centers to the flowers here next. And you know, if you were teaching a party with this too, you could always try to offer to teach how to add the same background for everyone's painting. Like if they have their pet, and then if you want to show them how to do the grass with like the different colors, maybe let them pick their flower color or something. That's another fun way to have like kind of a variation to it. Add some that are kind of popping off the bottom here. Maybe there's some popping off the edge over here. Over here. Maybe just a touch of a highlight on a few of these, just to make them look different. Okay, well, if you're watching, what do you think we should do on the background? I'm trying to decide. Maybe we should do like a gradient color of that purple tone. I feel like that would gonna be fun. So we say, oh, she's gonna be so happy to see her darling. Yeah, he's so sweet. Okay, now I'm going to. So these little flowers in the picture have little white centers. So I'm just gonna flip my brush over and use it as a dotting tool. Or if you have dotting tools at home, you could do that. I'm gonna get some fresh white because it's kind of traumatized from all the things here. And maybe we can add some metallics in a moment too after we do our background. So I'm just going to add a little white dot to the centers of all these. Just kind of makes it kind of whimsical. You could even, instead of just doing a white dot, you could do like 3 white dots, or you could do black dots. Sometimes people do that. That's kind of fun. I love this periwinkle color. It's supposed to be the color of the year is what I heard. And I know our year is already 3/4 of the way over, but I'd love to try to paint with it more. Oh my gosh, let me see if my ring light will turn on again for a bit. Oh, let there be light. Yeah, he's really looking good. He's cute. Okay, bokeh blues and greens. Oh, like a bokeh color. That'd be kind of cool. Let's see if I can do that. I think I can do that. Maybe we'll do. Maybe we'll try to use a baby wipe. You could use a sponge to do like a bokeh effect, but I'm gonna try a baby wipe today because I don't have a sponge on hand right now. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys something. So for this, I just dipped into this this pretty blue color I made, and I kind of want it to look like it's fading in the distance so it doesn't take attention from the dog. And so to do that, I'm going to start with my darker tone, then I'll kind of start adding some white. So bokeh is kind of like these circular, these little circle shapes that kind of fade in the distance with some paintings, and see, you can kind of like round them out, and then we could do, do like a lighter green. And I'm not rinsing. I'm going to see how this works with those two together. I think it might be better if I switch to a different spot on my thing. Let's see. I'll just make it a little bit brighter. Kind of come along where he's at and kind of overlap a bit. Let's do a darker tone now. Let's see what this blue looks like if we did kind of a blue over here. Just kind of going in some soft circles. Switch here. Let's add some white to these edges. Just soften up a little bit. You could even use the baby wipe itself to kind of wipe those edges. See that? And make it a little softer like that. And since this area is dry, you really don't have to worry about accidentally wiping your paint. I'm going to get back into some green. Kind of blend it up into the blue a bit. Maybe even a brighter green right here, up along this edge. Thank you for that suggestion, Cindy. I wasn't really sure what, I was like, oh, maybe we'll do like a gradient or something. That's a good idea. I like trying new things. It's a good challenge for me. Okay, let's do blue again. Actually, let's make it look, there's quite a bit of light over here. Really light. I still have some on my baby wipe. I'm even going to come down in here. Oh, there's quite a bit on that spot. And come down in here and kind of blend it down. Let's see, maybe we'll even add a touch of white. A little more white. We'll add a little bit of white over here too. Almost looks like clouds in the sky or something. This would be kind of a cool way to make clouds, actually. Use your baby wipe for this. All right, I'm liking that. So what are all my secrets with baby wipes? Oh, and someone said, so cute. The eyes are amazing. Thank you. Baby wipes are awesome as an eraser. We call them a magic eraser when we're painting with them. They just help to, once if your paint is still wet, you can use it to wipe away mistakes. Literally, you can use them in place of a sponge, like I just did, to do a cool background. You can use it to dabble with things. You can obviously use it to wipe your hands. I actually was more experienced with oil painting before acrylics. And so I like with oil painting, you dip in your paint and then you have to like wipe it really quick and before you switch to a different color. So sometimes that the same process that I'm used to with that comes out when I'm painting, and I'll just wipe it really quick instead of rinsing, and it works just as well, especially if you don't have too much paint on your brush. So yeah, it just depends. Okay, I'm gonna add a touch of metallic to this. So I've got some metallic gold and I've got some metallic copper. It's just gonna add a sweet little touch to make it unique and different. And then we will add our signature and some whiskers. We are missing whiskers. His little whiskers are black, so we'll do the whiskers after the metallic. So to make it kind of unique with the metallic, I will dip into, after everything's dry, oh, my husband, he says, wow, yeah, thanks, babe. We're going to be shampooing the carpets today, so it's kind of a crazy day. And we got the girls' new beds, so we got to set their new beds. Okay, so I'm going to switch back over to my large flat brush, maybe. I'm trying to decide. And I'm just going to have some free strokes with it. So my metallic paint, wherever I see some of this same burnt sienna color that we did, I'm just going to kind of swishy swashy it on there. And it will add kind of an extra highlight that will make the painting pop and make people want to look at it. So I'm going to do the same on this ear, just kind of zigzaggy and free. Be free a little bit here and there. And maybe even along his back and over here. This gives it a little attitude too. So it's not just like, oh, it's just a pet portrait. It's like, oh, it has attitude. Even up on the eyebrows. Okay. Now, if I want to add a touch of gold, he did have quite a bit of gold around his little face, and I may even switch to a different brush, maybe just in here on these lighter parts. Right in through there. Let's do a bigger streak there just for fun. And these are kind of some of the paintings you might see like in a veterinary office. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever gone to your vet and you see some of the fun pop art paintings. Adding a kind of a unique touch this way kind of makes it that cool pop art style. I think I'm going to switch this smaller brush a little bit for up in here. Okay, let's add his whiskers. I'm going to do the smaller brush, and I'm going to dip into my thin black paint, my thin craft paint here, and he's actually got some, like 2 up here by his eyebrows. Again, don't be ashamed if you are painting or if your painters are painting and these little details with the brushes makes you feel like you need to use a Sharpie or something. Oftentimes, especially with kids, using a Sharpie helps. Or maybe you have someone a little older that has kind of shaky hands. There's no shame in that. And I'm just going to pull a few. And the trick with doing some nice lines that pop out is to dip back into your paint. Make sure your paint is thin. You're using a thin brush. This is another technical difficulty. Thin paint, thin brush, and you remember to dip back into your paint in between each little hair. Especially if it's a longer hair. If it's kind of short like these little ones, you're probably okay. And even, maybe there's some overlap. Okay, I'm going to flip them upside down so I can get this other side. That may or may not be helpful for you, but you can kind of get a feel for it and see what works best for you. And while I'm here, I'm just going to outline around his mouth a little bit more. And then I'll add my initials. I kind of want to do them with that pretty blue. I just love that blue. Let's do this. I'll do it over here so it looks like a forget-me-not. And that's it. So if you guys are watching, thank you so much for watching. And if you are interested in learning more about painting animals, feel free to message me and let me know. If you specifically would love to paint this little guy, I do have a tracer that I made this morning for him. If you are in my membership group, I posted it in the group. If you are not, I'd be happy to send it to you. If you want to send me a quick message with your email address, I'll send it on over, and you're welcome to follow along with the video and paint. So I think that's pretty much it. I hope that you guys enjoyed and have an awesome Saturday. And I will post the finished painting on the page too and take some good pictures. Cindy said thank you. You're welcome, Cindy. Thanks for watching. You watched all the way. That was great. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.